If this was Nathan Fillion's panel, I feel like this place would be out of fucking control right now. As it should be, he's Canadian. Yeah, Nathan Fillion. Or Stephen Amell. So many famous Canadians. Woo! Sickos. Wow, those lights are so bright. Bright lights! Mogwai? Nobody? Okay. So where do we begin? First of all, thank you, my very gracious Canadian hosts. Thank you for having me up here at Fan Expo. Thank you to the organizers of Fan Expo. Thank you guys for coming out. I really do appreciate it. I know it was kind of last minute, and every time it's last minute, I showed up to my booth to sign today. There was, is Glenn? Is Glenn in here? Is it Glenn? Who was the first guy in line? Yes, is Glenn? Craig. Greg. So Glenn, I love you, Greg. He was the first. There was like you and one other person in line when I got to the con today, and I thought, oh, this is going to go real well. This is great. 2 people. But look at all you guys here. God bless you. I love you. Thank you very much. You make me feel so special. The reverb in here is intense. Is there any way to, never mind. So as you guys know, I don't like moderators because I talk too much, and also because I think the conventions are about you guys, so that's all I really want to do is talk to you. So does anybody have a question that they want to ask me? Yes, I see a hand up over there. Oh, is there a place that you have to line up for it?
Yes, if you'd like to ask a question, I would ask you to line up here, please.
Right in the middle aisle here, so yes. So if you can go around that way, or you can come around this way. Can she ask the first one? I did see her hand, and I feel like it would be inappropriate. Of course, darling, absolutely. You're wearing yellow, too. It made it easy to spot you. Yellow! That's so... Does anybody else hear that reverb, or is it just me? You can hear it. How does that... Can we turn the reverb down? Is it an effect to make me sound more sexy? It sounds like there's 2 of me.
You're Geek Squad. Do it yourself.
I'm Nerd Herd, thank you very much. Geek Squad. I got it. Yes, darling, what is your question?
First off, I want to say thank you. I know you raise a ton of money to a charity close to my heart called Operation Smile.
Yes.
As somebody with a facial difference, it's huge because it doesn't get any play anywhere. So thank you for that. My question is there going to be like a Chuck movie? Are you in love with Chuck? I need more Chuck in my life.
How many times do I have to answer this fucking question?
I know, I'm sorry.
I'm just kidding.
I can ask boxers or briefs.
What was that?
Boxers or briefs.
Boxers or briefs? Is that where we went from? Is there going to be no Chuck, boxers or briefs? It's boxer briefs, actually. The best of both worlds, guys. Seriously, I can't, this audio, I don't know how this works. Is this better? No. Is this better? Yes. Really? All right. Maybe if I talk a little lower, it won't bounce so much. Oh, but I'm such a loud person. This feels so unnatural. So first, let me say, this is very hard for me to do, to talk so low, but it does feel sexy. That's number 1. Number 2, thank you for caring about charity and for caring about all of, well, this is something that you have had in your life, and I think that it is, it's easy for us when there's something personal in our lives. That is the easiest way to find compassion. And I think that's incredible, and I am so grateful that you have taken that and your journey and your struggles, and you see that compassion, and you feel that compassion, and you feel that empathy. And I hope that everyone in this room, on some level, if there's something that you've gone through in your life, whether it is some kind of physical ailment or if it's some kind of mental or emotional ailment, that you would grab a hold of that, you would know that it is not the ruler of your life, that you can defeat that, you can work against that, and that you would use that to create empathy within yourself to go help other people that might be in that situation. So kudos to you, darling. And then, yes, sure, absolutely, applaud her. And boxer briefs. I think we went over that. So the Chuck movie. Okay.
I'm sorry, I know.
No. Oh God, it's okay. Don't worry about it. It's just I would love to. I wanted to make a Chuck movie before we even finished the series. I saw the turning tides of network television versus cable versus streaming. I don't want to say that I'm like Nostradamus, but I'm Nostradamus, and I mean, you know, like the younger, cooler, like modern version.
Absolutely.
Not so much like beardy. I don't have none of that stuff. Didn't he have like a big beard and cloak? Anyway, so I was in fact, to be honest, I was pitching when we kept ended up on the chopping block every year. Thanks for eating all those Subway sandwiches. You all look fantastic for eating so many sandwiches, by the way. I was pitching to the powers that be. I was like, yo, let's just sell this thing online. I mean, if you think about it, we could make episodes, we could sell them for a nominal price, like iTunes, whatever, and the thing would pay for itself if you just look at the worldwide fan base of Chuck. That fell on deaf ears. Because nobody, you know, it takes people a long time to get around on big ideas, and which is sad to me because because all I want to do is big ideas, and know that in the coming years, Chuck movie included, I am going to continue to fight with everything in me to bring those big ideas to you guys. I can't really tell you what those are just yet right now. Because I have more work to do on them. I don't want to just bring them out half-baked. I want them to work, I want them to survive, I want them to be something that makes you feel empowered and the people that sit up on these stages feel empowered. I want to break down all the shit barriers that exist between us while still keeping it safe and respectful. There's a reason why this stage is this high. So you can't just run up and grab us. This reverb is killing me. But within all that, I would love to do a Chuck movie. I would love to. And I tell you what, I mean, it's kind of getting to the point where it's like a fine wine now. You know, like the longer it goes, the funnier it's going to be. Because if I'm like a 50-year-old Chuck, and that's funny, right?
That would be awesome.
Right? And Adam Baldwin will be 85. That's not true. He'll be 95, and he'll still look exactly the same. Like it's ridiculous. Morgan. The Morgan? Was it? I can't remember. What was the Morgan? It was like this. Wasn't that the Morgan? Wow. Does anybody remember? Did I do it right? Thank you. Jesus. And yes, boxer briefs. Okay, thank you. Excellent. Excellent questions. Oh, water. Water for two. I'll drink hers first. Continue.
Hey, Zach. So, in Toronto, we always have a lot of movies and TV shows filming here.
What?
And
we know.
And then we also have TIFF. Right, so we're never for a lack of stars. So what would it take for Nerd HQ to have a Toronto version?
Huh? I love those like disembodied voices like nobody knows what they said, but they thought it was hysterical. It could have been hysterical. I don't know. I have no idea. First of all, I no matter how many times I hear it, I just love the name Tiff because it sounds like a Valley Girl from like 1986. Like, are you coming to Tiff? Oh my God, did you see Tiff? It was great this year. Tiff. Sorry, just in my own head. So yes, look, I've had a lot of fun working up in Toronto, doing Heroes Reborn and Alias Grace, and yeah. Oh, Alias Grace is coming out soon, by the way. I hope you guys dig it. Canada gets it first. Well, we did shoot it here, so. Yeah, so here's the thing with Nerd HQ. How many people have watched even just one panel from Nerd HQ online? It's a good amount of people. Raise your hand if you've never watched a Nerd HQ panel, live streamed a Nerd HQ. Raise your hand if you're hearing about Nerd HQ for the first time. Raise your hand if you have arms. Interesting. Okay, some of the same people, all in it. So, I'm such a friggin' idiot. It's fun though, right? So here's the thing about Nerd HQ for the uninitiated. I wanted to create something that I would go to conventions, particularly San Diego Comic-Con, and I would see all of these various things. My like engineer designer brain, as I think I've come to figure out about myself, like I see things and I go, how is that designed correctly? And if it's not, like, can it be better? Can it be made better? And I think there's a lot of stuff and in various parts of our lives and our worlds that could be better, including within the convention world. And I would see Chuck fans that were literally camping out overnight on fucking concrete to maybe hopefully get into Ballroom 20 to come and see a Chuck panel. That would bum me out. I'd be like, isn't there a way to like sell these tickets like a la carte, and they would know for sure that they have a seat in the panel? Like there's got to be better ways to do this, apparently. And so Nerd HQ, and then also like this to me, like Hall H at San Diego Comic-Con. Has anybody been in Hall H at San Diego Comic-Con? Okay. How far away were you sitting from the stage? Way the fuck back, way back. Probably so far back that you weren't even looking at the person or persons on the stage. You were looking at a massive screen, right? At that point, why are you even in there? Why not be at home watching it from the comfort of your own home? I mean, there is something to be said for the energy that's in a room. I will absolutely give you that. But there's a lot of things about all that, so I wanted to change that, and part of that was creating panels that were more intimate, kind of like this, really. I mean, it'd be like, from that aisle there over to that aisle there, and about 300 folks or whatever, and make it all fan Q&A, and make it off the cuff, and make it more fun, in my opinion. But the problem is that it costs a lot of money, and sponsors, big corporations, they move really, really slow. And I've tried to get multiple iterations of Nerd HQ funded, including at New York Comic-Con a couple of times, once at South by Southwest in Austin. And all of these people, all of these sponsors, when they're on the dance floor at Nerd HQ. Have anybody been to the dance parties at Nerd HQ before? Oh, five people, 4, 3, okay. Was it not the most epic dance party you ever went to? Say it loudly. Yeah. They're really epic dance parties. So epic that these sponsors who are now like 4 drinks in and dancing with like Matt Smith, for example, right? So Matt and I met down at San Diego Comic-Con, and then he came to a dance party at Nerd HQ and was like, "Mate, this is like the greatest ever, like what are you doing?" And I was like, "Yeah, you want to come do a panel?" I was like, "Anything for you, man." And we've been buddies ever since, because he got it. A lot of sponsors show up, or like potential sponsors, and they're, had a couple drinks, and they're now rubbing elbows, and they're like, "Oh my God, this is the greatest ever, we want to do this all the time." And I'm like, great, if I had a contract to give them right then, so they could sign it right then, it would all work. The problem is they leave there, and the whole magic of it in there, like they're like, "Oh well, it's Q1, Q2, Q3, this is how much money we have for marketing." It's like, you got to believe in it or not believe in it. So, that's a long way of coming around on. I don't know how to sustain Nerd HQ. I can barely sustain it in San Diego. And so, what I am probably going to do, and by the way, I'm kind of announcing it here to you guys, so, first, scoop. Excuse me, hon. Thank you. I'm just gonna. Oh, that reverb. This is what I'm gonna propose to do. A couple years ago, it was like year 3 of Nerd HQ, typically the way it would happen is, because sponsors move so slow in putting money in, I would have to use my own money. I would front load, I'd pay all the vendors, rent the space like Petco Park. That's very expensive stuff. And then the sponsors would then finally put their money in and I could pay myself back and we'd break even. Well, the 3rd year, we had 2 major sponsors pull out at the last second. I lost my ass. I lost a lot of my own money and I couldn't do that anymore. So that's why the next year we did a crowdfunder. We did an Indiegogo campaign. And I hoped that if I went out to all the fans and I said, hey, if you guys could all just give $5, even if you can't make it to San Diego Comic-Con and you can't come to Nerd HQ, you get 30 hours of programming, right? All those panels, Supernatural, Arrow, Nathan Fillion, Joss Whedon, Orphan Black, all the various people that I could bring in, and I do these 45 to an hour panels. And I thought surely all the people of the world who were getting all this stuff for free would put in $5, and they didn't. So I'm gonna take Nerd HQ, I'm gonna streamline it, I'm gonna take all the for-profit of it away. I'll basically the whole company will be a wash for me. I'm happy to do that because I'm going to turn it into a full nonprofit foundation. And that means if you guys actually want Nerd HQ to happen anymore, on the website, I'll put a little donate deal and you guys can all put money into it. And so if it doesn't happen, that's because not enough people wanted it. And if people do want it, it'll be fully tax deductible. And if people want it so much that we can pay for San Diego and then beyond that, I'll bring it to Toronto, I'll bring it to New York, I'll bring it to Los Angeles, I'll bring it to Detroit, I'll bring it to London, I'll bring it anywhere I can. Because I believe in it. I believe in the idea that you guys deserve to have intimate, real interactions with the people that you support in their careers. You've supported me in my career. You support Nathan Fillion in his career and Stephen Amell. The only reason why we get to do TV and movies is because you guys support us. You are the patrons of the arts. You cannot forget this. You are the producers of everything. It's not the studios and it's not the networks. If you stop watching a show, the show goes away. If you don't buy tickets to a movie, the movie doesn't happen again. You have the power of Grayskull. Sorry, and I don't mean to get too heavy-handed with that, but I want to give you everything, and I will die doing it. I mean it. I'll bend over backwards. I'll do it because I think there's so much stuff in this life. We got one chance, and there's so much stuff that's broken. It's not working right. It doesn't actually care about us. There's so many corporations that put profits over people, and that is ruining the world. You put people over profits, and everybody wins. You can still make money. You can make all kinds of money, but you've got to take care of people. So that's the very long-winded answer of, I hope I can bring it to Toronto one day. Yeah. Hi.
And so, you may not remember me from earlier, but...
I do. You and your brother came by, right? Steven? No.
Yes?
Damn! What's up, Steven? Talk to me, baby. I don't know why I just did that. Excuse me?
Steven's actually over there, by the way.
Okay.
But,
that's fine.
So,
did you meet Glenn? Glenn is literally... Greg. Glenn is now in the queue. I just said, did you meet Glenn? And then I see a hand go like this in the back. All right, Steve, not Steve. Let's out with it.
So, how did you feel about the ending of Chuck?
Way to turn the tide. And I thought me going off on a rant was bringing the mood down. Jeez. Honestly, I think the end of Chuck was, was in fact the end of Chuck. I don't know. I really don't. I understand why people were disappointed with it. I understand why some people weren't disappointed with it. I understand why some people kind of felt like, oh, look, it's kind of like this open-ended, like it's almost like it's a circle all the way back again, you know? And in some ways, I think that's kind of genius. It's like if you imagine that we come right back to the beginning and imagine that like Chuck and Sarah had to relive almost all those adventures and journeys all over again in like one big screwed up loop, like, which would be so much work. Like, could you imagine Chuck having to win her heart every single, like every 5 years, like, here we go again. This is, what's that? He would do it. He loved her. Yeah, he would. But I don't know. I also understand why people kind of felt like, man, we invested 5 years into this relationship and now we're not sure. But Chuck was a hopeful show. Chuck was a happy-go-lucky, not entirely always, but it was hopeful. It always, you know, none of the good people died.
That's good.
Most of all the bad people didn't die either. We just tranked the hell out of them. Yeah, I don't know. I think at the end of the day, you can't walk away from it thinking that it didn't work out. I think the kiss did work. I personally think the kiss worked. And if it didn't, then screw that. That's how I feel. Thank you.
Hello.
Trying to take a picture and ask a question?
Well, trying to take a video.
Double duty?
I have a
Go for it. Yeah.
Hey, you can do it, I can do it. By the way,
How do ventriloquists do it? This is going to be online, isn't it? That's great. That's super.
oh yeah, that's going on.
We'll just tell everyone I peed myself.
Okay, I have two things. First thing, my friends and I have been calling ourselves the Nerd Herd since '99.
Fantastic.
So we kind of.
Wait, since '99?
That's right. So we took issue with it when Jack brought it up. It was like, oh, we're the Nerd Herd.
Yeah.
But would you like to be an honorary member of our Nerd Herd?
Yes.
Yes, awesome. You are now an honorary member of the Markham,
Wow,
Ontario
that was
Nerd
the
Herd.
easiest initiation I've ever been through.
But no, I have another.
That was way easier than when I got jumped into the crypts. That was baseball bats. And, anyway.
The Canadian way of things. It's
I'm sorry?
The Canadian way of things, the polite way to do things. We bring you into our crew instead of
Okay.
But no, my actual question, how good is your smolder?
How good is my smolder?
Yeah,
Am I doing it yet?
oh yeah. It works.
Is that better?
Oh, it's working.
Is that smaller? I don't know.
Yeah.
I can't judge my own smolder.
Oh, would you like us to judge your smolder?
I'm sorry?
Would you like for us to judge your smolder?
As a matter of fact, I would love everyone on the count of 3 to do their smolder. 1, 2, 3. I see a whole lot of not smoldering going on. Epic fail.
Okay, thank you for being here. It was just great to talk to you.
Oh, well, nice to talk to you too. And thank you for initiating me into your nerd herd. That predated my nerd herd.
You are very welcome.
All right.
Thank you.
Yes, clap for that lady. Hi.
Hi. First of all, I'd like to say that you brought to life a lot of my favorite characters, so thank you for that.
Thank you.
One of my favorite shows, and this is pretty much the only show my family will actually sit down together, is Geeks Who Drink. Is there a chance that that show's coming back?
No. Unfortunately, yeah. Geeks Who Drink was a fun show, and I am glad that I did it, and I am trying to develop a new kind of game show, that trivia type of show that might kind of harness a little bit of that fun, but be a different kind of spin. Unfortunately for Geeks Who Drink, there were so many cooks in the kitchen. There were so many different like producers and this and that and the other. It just became it was too expensive. It was too expensive for the people who were writing the checks. I mean, at the end of the day, and it just, it didn't work anymore. But I'm grateful for anyone who watched it for 13 episodes or 12 or whatever it was. Thank you for anybody. By the way, for anyone who's ever watched anything that I've ever done, which I'm assuming is why you're sitting in this room right now, with the exception of like a couple people in the back, like, I don't know, I had nothing better to do. Thank you. It really does mean, it means a lot to me. So, yeah.
I also have one other question. How does it feel to be such an iconic character now as Flynn Rider?
Pretty fantastic, actually. It's a dream come true, and I know how cliche that sounds. So know that I know how ridiculous and cliche that sounds, but it's not. I mean that with everything in me. Since I was a little kid, I grew up in Southern California. I went to Disneyland all the time. I was a part of the kind of initial Disney Channel generation. I was born in 1980. Cable television was coming around in that time. Cable had no idea what it was. They were like, we have all this time on TV, what do we fill it with? And Disney was like, we got all these old cartoons from the vault, throw them on there. And so I grew up watching all the like Pecos Bill and Johnny Appleseeds and all the Mickeys and all the Goofies and all the Donalds and everything and all the movies. And I had two sisters, and I was the middle boy between the two girls, so that means I saw every princess movie and loved every second of it. Look at this stuff, isn't it neat? Ow! I'm basically just a walking, talking cartoon. That's really what it comes down to.
You're a great singer, too.
Thank you very much. So when I just got the call of, hey, do you want to go, there's an audition for this new Disney musical, just my agent asking, the little kid in me started just going, like just freaking out. And then I got the job, and that was insane. It was insane that I don't know if anybody in this room knows what it feels like to be a child, have a dream, and then that thing actually comes to life. Like that really happened. Like I've been living my dream since I got into this business. I've always wanted to be an actor. I've always wanted to entertain people for a living. I've always wanted to bring joy to people on a regular basis and do TV and do film and do Broadway. I've gotten to check off like almost every single thing on my list. I still want to do it to higher levels. I want to have more impact. I want to have a bigger and more fruitful career. But even if I die tomorrow, it's humbling. It's very, very humbling to know that I've been blessed that much. And I know that's not normal. I know that a lot of people go through their whole lives wishing that they could just have one thing on their bucket list. And I've had, so many. And Tangled and Flynn, and now it's the gift that keeps on giving. Now we're doing an animated series, and I get to keep being Eugene Fitzherbert, and that's it just tickles me. It just tickles me. So yeah, excellent question. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hi there.
Hi.
That's loud.
It is loud, isn't it?
It is very loud. So, huge fan of Chuck. I'm
a huge fan of trucks as well.
I actually introduced my wife to Chuck as a test when we first started dating. So if she didn't like it, and she knows it, we've talked about it.
That is a fantastic litmus test right there, my friend.
Yeah, I guess you're right. But you're also the one actor that I can share with my kids too. With my daughter, Eugene. I always correct people when they say Flynn, I say it's Eugene. Thor.
I accept both, it's fine.
Vendrell and Thor with my older boys. How does it feel to be such a wide range to so many different people, different ages, and bring families together at the same time?
A blessing. Yeah. It really does. I felt like, most of my career up to this point has been very accessible. And I've been grateful for that. I'm grateful that, you know, when people started coming up to me when Chuck started airing, and someone like yourself would say, I love the show, but one of the things I love the most about the show is that I can watch it with my whole family. I didn't really think about that when I got the job. I didn't think about the fact that it was a whole, like literally, I've met families where it was grandparents, parents, kids, grandkids, you know, like all like multi-generational that all sit around and watch the show. And it hits you, it impacts you, and you go, wow, it's kind of like what entertainment always used to be. Entertainment as a whole used to be much more wholesome, right? I mean, and I'm down for some gritty, gory, crazy stuff because I think there are real stories that need to be told, and those stories are not for children. You know, we do need to dive into some of that darkness and to shine light on that stuff, but you know, families used to sit around before we had any kind of electronics. You had a father or a mother or a grandparent that would sit and read from a book by a fireplace, and a family would sit and listen. That was entertainment. And then we got a radio, and then everyone in the family would sit around and listen to the radio together. And then we got TV. And we did that for a while, and then it started becoming a little more bifurcated because then there was like younger programming and older programming, but also just as people, as a society, we're getting more and more splintered up. I mean, I'm not even kidding. I was sitting at breakfast this morning at the hotel, and there was a family of 4 sitting at a table, and it was like a father, mother, older brother, younger brother, and the younger brother had an iPad out and was watching some Minecraft. You know how kids now watch, like, they're not even playing the fucking games anymore. They're watching someone else play the fucking game. I don't understand this. I don't get it. It's bad enough that we play video games, like I played video games. Look, I love me some video games. I've also looked back on the amount of hours I have dumped into playing a simulated life, because that's ultimately what it is, right? I mean, if there's studies on this now. You level up, you achieve, you get something, you find the treasure, it's dopamine that's released in your brain, you feel like you're actually achieving in life. You're not. You're not. That's fun. We should. I definitely. I'm not knocking on video games in general. I think they're super fun. I think, by the way, we're about to get into a whole nother realm of video games with VR and AR, and I want to be at the front end of that and doing all kinds of cool shit. But when you have families now that can't even sit down at a table without one or more of them completely in another world, and again, not even in their world, but they're watching. It's like a copy of a copy of a copy, and it's like, what are we even doing? What are we doing? Has anybody seen the movie Multiplicity?
Yes.
You know, I love that movie. It's so underrated. Michael Keaton is so good. But you know when, in that movie, so he basically in the movie, cloning exists, and he makes a couple clones of himself. Well, then unbeknownst to him, his clones start getting kind of busy, so one of them makes a clone of themselves. And so now there's a 4th. But he's like a little off. He's like that, and they go, and that's the analogy that he goes. They're like, well, you know, when you make like a copy of a copy, you know, it's just not quite as sharp anymore. But that's what I was looking at. I was looking at this kid being like, you're not even satisfied enough. We're so disconnected from each other, and so, wow. See, this is why. That's why I don't need a moderator. Society is we're so disconnected. And so to know that I was a part of something that actually connected people again, even in a little way, even for an hour, where you had to sit through some Subway commercials, you know, like that, like at least Subway. That, yeah, there you go, yeah. But that's, in today's society especially, that's a powerful thing. So I'm very grateful that I've been able to have that, and thank you for your family, and thank you that you support me, and that your family supports me, and that you don't tell them to not watch what I do.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
Hi.
Brie.
Yes.
God! What? Talk to me, Brie.
So, I know you're coming up into the Psych movie.
Psych movie!
I'm really excited about that.
Shot in Canada! Other side of Canada!
Which
British Columbia! Go ahead.
Which type of character do you like to play? Good guy or villain? Which do you prefer?
Yes. I like that you said good guy or villain. That's like not good guy, bad guy, or hero villain. It was good guy or villain. Well, in reference to the last gentleman's question, so I've played the good guy for most of my career, and I love playing the good guy because I don't know, because I care about. Because I care about people. It's more inherent, I guess, in me. Because I really love people. My empathy levels that God gave me when I was a kid, they're actually probably unhealthy. They're like unhealthy levels of empathy, if there could be such a thing. I've talked to my therapist about it. Do you guys remember the show Life Goes On? Anybody watch the show Life Goes On? Remember Corky? So for the uninitiated, it was a series in the mid-'80s, I guess? Mid-'80s. What's that? Patti LuPone. That's right, Patti LuPone. Patti LuPone! The Lapisi, jeez. But it was the first show that ever had an actor that had legitimate Down syndrome, who was the lead kid. And it was about a boy with Down syndrome who was in high school and the trials and tribulations of a kid with Down syndrome and the family and everything. I was like 6. And I was with my family and like a family friend, and the show came on and we were watching it, and I lost it. I totally lost it. And my family and this family, they were like, oh my God, like what is wrong with Zach? What has happened to Zach? And I just couldn't stop crying. Because I even at 6, I was like, it's not fair. It's not fair that these people make fun of this boy. It's not fair. It wasn't his fault. He was born this way. And by the way, he was fair. He loved everyone. I don't know if you've ever met anyone with Down syndrome, but they are the kindest souls in the world. They literally are like angels that are on the earth. They are so loving and they are so kind, and they are without guile. They are without jealousy or judgment. And my little 6-year-old heart could not take it. Round 2 of that was when I saw Forrest Gump when I was 12. I'm on vacation with my parents. We go to the theater. At some point, I don't know, you get into like the 3rd act of that movie and it's just like death, 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 death. And you have that moment where Forrest catches up with Jenny later in life, and he sees young Forrest and she's telling him, that's your son. And this whole movie, you're going along on this journey and you see this totally innocent, again, without any guile, any judgment, just like the kindest soul. And he's done everything in his life, stumbled halfway through it, but always with the best of intentions, never wanting to take advantage of anybody, while people took advantage of him. And you think, oh, well, he is stupid as stupid does, and maybe he doesn't get it, and blah, 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 blah. And then all of a sudden, that movie takes a fucking turn on you. And you know this moment because he looks at little Forrest, and he starts crying. Forrest starts crying. And he starts saying, is he like me? I was like, I can't. I can't. This man is not as dumb as we've all taken him for. He's aware enough to know that there is something that he is maybe missing or lacking, and he's aware enough to know that he doesn't want his son to go through that same experience. I'm 12 years old. I start crying so loud, like I'm an ugly crier. You guys saw Chuck, those scenes where I'm crying, like in season 5, when Sarah doesn't remember who I am and she's trying to literally kill me. Spoiler alert, if you haven't watched Chuck, sucks to be you. Like those are real tears. Like I try to work myself up into those places. I couldn't, the people in the theater, God knows what they thought. They probably thought my parents were beating me. I don't know, I was howling, like that kind of a thing. I cried all the way through the end of the movie. Like my parents kept reaching over and like, you need to stop now. Not making any sense. They can't understand what's going on. I cried all the way through the credits. I cried all the way through the parking lot. I cried all the way back into the van. I cried all the way back to the hotel. I'm not lying. That is not an exaggeration. That's how much I cried because I felt that bad for a fictitious character. But what he meant, what he stood for, was actual compassion, actual empathy, actual kindness. So, yeah, I like playing good guys. But I think it's important that you challenge yourself, no matter what your vocation is, and you challenge people's perceptions of you. And and it is fun to get a little down and dirty and get a little, get a little evil with things, and exercise different muscles in that regard. I don't know. I don't know. There's a couple of things I've done recently where I play the other side, where I play villains. We'll see what you all think. So, I mean, I might be talking to you a year from now, and I'll see you at a convention. You'll be like, "Hey, stick with the good guys." Because I just didn't buy it. I didn't buy it. Remember that Forrest Gump stuff? Stick with that. Stick with that. That's good. That's good. Yeah, anyway, that's all that. Thank you, Bree. Appreciate the question.
Hello.
By the way, go watch Forrest Gump again immediately. Fucking great. Robin, hello.
Yes.
I won't do it again. You can do the kick? You can do the kick? You can do the kick? That's it! Hey, can we give it up for our ASL people, by the way? Seriously, you guys are rock stars. Yes, Robin.
Okay, so my question is about Chuck. So Chuck came around at about a time when nerds had just started taking over the world.
I think we've been doing that for a long time, but okay.
We have, but I mean, we really started taking over the world around mid-2000s. So Chuck was a show that allowed nerds to be nerds and not nerds to be cool. And I just wanted to know if you think Chuck had any sort of impact and any sort of legacy in pop culture as nerds have become more and more in the forefront, as comic book movies rule the box office, as nerds become more and more popular on television. What do you think Chuck's legacy has been in pop culture that way?
All hail Chuck.
Thank you. I don't know, and I don't know that I will ever know, and I don't know that I need to. I think that the legacy that you leave in other people's hearts and minds, and if there are future generations, future nerds, generations of people who have felt downtrodden, generations of people that are looking for an example of someone who stood their ground. You know, that was one of the things I loved so much about Chuck, and where I identified with him so much is he had principles and integrity, and he didn't shake from that. And I think we live in a world right now where, I mean, that's hard to find. It's really hard, even in our own lives. You know, I mean, if a big enough carrot is dangled in front of your face, it's real hard to toe that line. And I love that Chuck never ever gave up, and he never gave in, and he remained steadfast in that. And the fact that he happened to be a nerd, or was about things that people might deem nerdy, was also helpful, because that's what I was into as well. But I just think that more than anything, even aside, again, from the nerd moniker, I think we need actual heroes. We need people that we can actually look up to, and it's sad. I feel like it's so few and far between nowadays. You see, and by the way, not that we're all, every hero is broken. Don't ever think that anyone is walking around and their shit doesn't stink. Don't ever, ever, ever think that, because if you do, you are putting your faith in broken vessels. You're always going to be disappointed every single time. But it doesn't mean we don't fight. It doesn't mean we don't care. It doesn't mean we don't, I mean, I don't know. Again, I got to work through a lot of this stuff with my therapist, but my level of idealism and altruism is I don't know how to let go of it, because it's like, well, what's the point? What's the point if you can't stand on something, you can't believe in something, then what the hell is the point? And Chuck, to me, did. He stood on stuff and he believed in stuff, even when people were saying, oh, it could be better for you to do this, or better for you to do that, or you could have a girl or not have the girl, or you could make more money, or you could whatever the carrots that were dangled, and Chuck's heart remained steadfast. So I hope that the legacy of Chuck is something in that regard, and I don't know that I'll ever know. I don't know that there could be a kid 20 years from now. One of the craziest things about Chuck is that I would argue that, actually, here, I always love asking this question. Show of hands, who watched the show when it was on television, airing actually on television? Oh wow, that's actually quite a few people. Okay, now show of hands, so who watched the show, who caught it for the first time really on Netflix and watched it on Netflix? Okay, interesting, interesting. So, I've been in rooms like this, and the vast majority is Netflix. You didn't actually watch it on TV, you found it on Netflix. There could be a kid 20 years from now who finds it on DVD, or whatever thing we have at that point. Brain chip. That would be a weird technology. Especially if that's what it made everybody sound like and look like. Hey, you want to go to the movie? Yeah, let's all go to the movie. Brain chip. Did you like the movie? It was great, yeah. All that to say, yeah, I hope that 20 years from now, or maybe there will be 20 years from now, a kid that finds the show and they go, I found a hero. I found somebody, regardless of the nerdiness or whatever, I found somebody that stays and stands on their convictions, So, yeah. You're welcome, yeah. Thor!
Hello.
Hi.
I was wondering, what initially drew you to the character of Chuck, and why did you say yes to playing him? Because he's one of my favorite characters that I've ever seen on TV.
Well, what drew me to the role was unemployment. As well as saying yes. Well, really both of those hand in hand. Yeah, I mean, no joke. I had done a show called Less Than Perfect for about 4 years. Woo! The few, the proud, BLTP. And that was an awesome experience, and yeah, it was a great experience. It was a multi-camera sitcom, and I had a blast. But then that ended, and it didn't exactly move the needle for me in Hollywood. So, I was kind of back to square one in a lot of ways, and then I, was going through pilot season, and they still hadn't found their Chuck, and I went and auditioned for it, and I got the job, and then the rest is history. That said, even if it was on an offer basis, I'd like to think that I still would have taken the job, because I really thought Chris Vidak and Josh Schwartz wrote a fantastic pilot, and I loved the character. I identified with the character. I understood the character. There's so many times when you're reading a script and you're like, I don't know how to even begin to play this character. not even aside from like relating to them, but like you know that you're not. There was a couple of times now I've gotten auditions to play like, you know, like these, like big, like the Drax type of a role in a movie, and I'm like, have you seen my build? What are we talking? Like I can work out for 5 years straight doing like guzzling creatine and shooting up steroids, and I'm not gonna be that guy. Unless you're gonna put like CG muscles on me, then let's go. Let's do it. You know, so but with Chuck, I was like, yeah, I totally can relate to this guy, and I get it, and I could have fun with this, and again, I loved his heart. His heart was the most important thing to me, and we were able to maintain that. So, yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, thanks. Spider-Man.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Good evening.
Okay. Depends. Okay. My name is Mark.
I don't want to fight about this, man.
My name is Mark from Montreal.
What's that?
Mark from Montreal.
Mark from Montreal.
I got a question.
I would hope so. You have the microphone.
Working with Mandy Moore.
Oh.
Could you sing the song "Into the Light"?
You mean right now?
Yeah, it was a winning song, and you were the best. Won the award.
Listen. Compliments will get you everywhere. All these days, chasing down a daydream. All these years, I don't even remember the words. Living in a blur. All that time, never truly seeing things the way you were. That's all I'm doing. That's it. Now she's here, standing in the starlight. Seriously. Now she's here and suddenly now stop it. Seriously, that's the end.
Another question. How'd you like your...
And at last I see the light, and it's like the fog is lifted.
Your friend.
And at last I see... And it's like Mark from Montreal. All right, that's it. That's it. Do you have another part of your question?
Okay.
You can go ahead. It's okay. The bit's over at this point.
How'd you like having a pet horse named Maximus, and you give him a lot of sugar cubes?
I beg your pardon?
How did you like your pet horse named Maximus?
And do I give him a lot of sugar cubes?
That's right.
You know this is an animated show, right? Fantastic. Moving on. Thank you, Spider-Man. Appreciate it. Thank you, Spider-Man. By the way, you're like the first person that's ever gotten me to sing that in public like that. So, let's hear it from Mark from Montreal.
Hello, Zach.
Well, hello, sir.
My question for you is, how much fun did you enjoy working on Tangled?
How fun was it to work on Tangled?
Yes.
Oh, it was a blast. It was a dream come true. Like I was saying earlier, I mean, it was just a total dream come true. And, you know, Dan Fogelman wrote such a fantastic script, and our directors, Nathan and Byron, were so great, and Mandy was fantastic. Yeah, it was just nuts. And they gave me a lot of freedom. I got to riff a lot, even with doing the animated series. Anybody watching the animated series right now, the Tangled series? Fantastic. You know, that's a lot of fun. It's all been lovely.
Thank you.
Thank you. Glenn!
Hey. So first off, thank you for Nerd HQ, because without you, I wouldn't have known about Supernatural, Last Ship, and Stranger Things, so thank you for that.
Dude, you're welcome.
And I have an idea for a sequel if you want to hear it.
An idea for a sequel to what?
Chuck.
Sequel to Chuck?
Yeah.
Okay.
Alright, so you and Yvonne are married, have kids, and eventually, because at this point you still have the intersect in your head, because at the end of the season, spoiler alert, you still have the intersect. So what if out of nowhere your son or daughter, whatever, got to intersect too, and then the adventures start from there.
Wow.
Heard it. No, actually, in fairness, that a very similar idea to that has been bandied around the internet for a good long time. But that doesn't mean it's not a good idea. I actually do like the idea of it being something that's passed down to kids and all that stuff. I have been working on an idea for a Chuck movie for a little while. Would you guys like to hear that idea?
Yes.
Suckers! I can't tell you! I have really been working on an idea though. I think it's very good.
Come on.
Oh my god! I'm so excited. I can't, no, I really can't. Oh, 5 more minutes. 5 minute warning! 5 minute warning. All right, we're gonna burn through these. Thank you, Glenn, Greg, Glenn Ross. Thank you. Hello, darling.
Hi.
Sarah?
Bree.
Bree!
Close.
Your girlfriend's name is Sarah?
Yes.
Fuck you, all right, I was close.
So as an Australian, I have a liberty to ask about another Australian. Have you played Mass Effect?
Have I played Mass Effect?
Yeah.
I played about 1 hour of Mass Effect 1. And then I realized it was a deep, deep, deep dark hole that I would get lost in for a really, really, really long time. And then I stopped. But I appreciate those who have played Mass Effect. I also hated the action. Like I didn't like the aiming and stuff. It was kind of driving me a little bit crazy. And that's an important thing for me in a shooter. Like I just, it wasn't happening. I know they fixed it. I heard later on that they made it better, but I was over it and playing other games.
Okay, play the second game. And just another question.
What'd you say?
Play the second game.
Oh, play the second one.
Yeah.
Just skip the first one entirely.
Yes.
Screw that one, just go to number 2.
That's fine.
All the story that was supposed to lead up to the second one, forget all that. Even though the decisions you make in the first one affect the second game, forget that.
No, Yvonne's in the second one, so.
Oh, I see. Okay, that's where we're going. This is an Australian thing. Okay, got it. Okay.
And what's a favorite moment from Chuck or behind the scenes that you've filmed with Yvonne, or any adventures or something?
Any stories? Any like anecdotes?
Yeah.
One quick one. Josh Gomez and I were both huge gamers when we were shooting the pilot of Chuck and through the series of Chuck. And Gears of War was like pretty hot at the moment. And so when we were shooting the pilot, I brought an Xbox to set. And when we were shooting in the Bymore set, and we hooked it up to one of the TVs on the set, and we just played Gears of War between takes. Like we were literally just chainsawing dudes, and they'd be like, "Oh, okay, ready, okay." And we'd run, and we'd go do this, and we'd come back, and we'd jump back on the controllers, and I almost fell out of this chair, and then so that was a fun little anecdote. Yeah. By the way, if you don't know this, Joshua Gomez. Literally, he's so talented, it just blows my mind. He made an album, and you can go find it if you Google Joshua Gomez or go on iTunes. It's what is it? Oh, the name of the album. It's something like trying to find a light bulb in the ice age. No, that's not right. It's something crazy like that though. So go look for that on iTunes and go buy it. It's really cool. It's like kind of like electro trancey stuff. If you're into that, it's very, very cool. So go support Joshua Gomez. And thank you, Bree. Yes. Next question.
Hi. I actually don't have a question. I just wanted to say thank you, and I'm gonna get this staff member here to give you these cookies.
Oh.
They're vegan.
Thank you. Are they cookies?
No, I'm 44.
Because tomorrow the signing table could be a lot of fun. Woo! You guys cosplay is crazy. I'm kidding.
not in my 20s anymore. I'm 44. I bake cookies. I have cats. I'm
All
married.
right.
I just thought I'd
I
say
may
thanks.
eat them, I may not. I don't know.
Eat the damn thing.
All right. Listen, I don't want to fight with you, lady. You got a cake. All right, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Next. We can do this. We only got 3 more. We can do it.
Okay, well, my question. The timeline with Jill.
would you change it in any way? Would you have tried to keep her longer, or would you have gotten rid of her sooner?
The timeline of Jill.
I think it's a fair question. I'm curious. She was there the whole beginning, like the backstory of her and Chuck, and then she came in and left.
Well,
sorry for the
see,
tough
this is a
question.
losing proposition. You realize that, right? There's no way to answer this and not come out totally like I've said something horrible.
I'll just say it.
I'll just say, well, no, like look, I'll say this. Working with Jordana was awesome. In fact, working with Kristen, working with Jordana, I was a very lucky man. So I would have loved to have worked with her longer. And I think we, had some great scenes. I mean, including the episode where I kissed Adam Baldwin. I know, right? He has such supple lips. But I don't know. I don't know that I would have changed it. I'm kind of I don't know. You kind of have to look at life and go, well, that's what it was, and then you accept that for what it was. But it definitely did kind of take me by surprise when she turned out to be a bad guy. I thought we were just going to break up. Like, well, this isn't working out. Not, oh, you're trying to kill me, because that sucks. So yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't change it, and that's my diplomatic answer. And now I'm walking away unscathed. Thank you. Thank you. Hi.
Hi. So, my question is, working in the arts can be...
Elena.
Yeah. So working in the arts can be a struggle, especially when you're starting out. So I'm just wondering, how did, between gigs or when you were starting out, how did you stay inspired and keep your motivation up?
Oh man, it's tough. Family, friends, God, trying to stay the course, trying to remain hopeful, by the way, no matter how old you are, never stop working on yourself. Never, ever, ever stop working on yourself. Don't stop working on yourself physically, don't stop working on yourself mentally, don't stop working on yourself emotionally, spiritually. It's super, super, super important. So that's something that even recently I've been very aware of. Like you got to keep, if you've got downtime, do something that is hopefully enriching your life, and if you can enrich your life and other people's lives at the same time, then do that. And and like even Nerd HQ came from that. I was working, but also feeling a lot of like unfulfillment, and I wanted to do something that was bigger and beyond me, and more altruistic or more idealistic, or a big swing, like the things I'm trying to do in my life right now, like moving to Texas and all the crazy, that's another story, guys. We'll get into that on the panel. But yeah, that tends to keep you on your toes, I think, and stay creative, and yeah, I heard somebody say once that about every 10 years, you've got about, depending on how long you live, you can live a new life like every 10 years. And depending on how driven you are, you can maybe do it every 7, every 5. I don't know. I don't know how long it takes any of you guys to learn a language. But if you really sit down and do it, I want to learn Spanish. I want to be able to speak fluent fucking Spanish. I don't know how long it's going to take me. So far, it's been 37 years. But I want to do that. And I want to buckle down and I want to do it. I want to learn how to play a musical instrument. I don't want to just sing. I want to play an instrument with my singing. I want to get to the end of my life and not feel like I wasted time, but rather I gave it everything that I had, So that keeps me inspired. Yeah. Thank you.
Hi.
Hi.
Can I just say I'm
Sam?
yeah.
God! Guys, for real! What's up?
That's impressive. Actually, I'm happy you remember my name and not that I brought up my acid reflux.
Your acid reflux because you ate a sausage that you shouldn't have eaten?
I'm really sorry about that.
It's okay. We talked about diarrhea for a little while. It's fine.
I'll keep this short. I just want to know, in the last scene when you and Yvonne were on the beach, and they did that whole like sad musical montage. What were you guys actually talking about?
It's actually a really good question. We were talking about the end. We were talking about 5 years of fighting together in the trenches, and every single scene where you saw me saying goodbye to Sarah, to Casey, to Devin and Ellie, to Morgan, to anyone, and the tears or whatever you see in those scenes, it's all real. In fact, they had to use takes that were, they didn't even use the cryiest takes. Like, they weren't even usable. I walked into Devin and Ellie's apartment to rehearse that scene, to say goodbye to them. It was me and Sarah Lancaster and Ryan McParlin, and we didn't even get through rehearsal. And it probably wasn't their fault. It was probably mine. Again, if you've learned anything today, it's that I cry a lot. Yeah, I literally, like, I had the sides in front of me, we start saying the lines, and I just started losing my shit. And Robbie Duncan McNeil, who was our directing producer, who's just a lovely, lovely guy, and was, you know, part of our you know, kind of papa in our family, I couldn't do it anymore, and he's like, and he just very tenderly comes over and he says, we're good, we're gonna mark it right there, let's bring the crew in, let's get this thing lit. And I had to go into a corner and just cry. Because it's not, you know, it's what I still see them. It's not like I wasn't saying goodbye to them for the rest of my life, but the emotion, like when you put that much of your life into something, and I gave it everything. I give everything I do, everything I have, because I don't know better. I'm working with a therapist, trust me. So yeah, you know, it was like, you know, part of it was the sadness of saying goodbye. Part of it was like everything and all of the struggles and shooting 18-hour days sometimes and walking off the soundstage on Friday, or rather Saturday morning. We call them Fratter days, because we would shoot all the way until like 7 in the morning on Saturday morning, and then we would have to somehow reset our clock and be at work at 6 a.m. on Monday, and we did that for the whole first season. And then the second season, we were 16-hour days, and we got it down to like 14-hour days by the last. By the way, these are all champagne problems, I understand. Like, this isn't like going and digging ditches or living in abject poverty. I totally understand that, but it's not all it's cracked up to be either. And you know, and then also when your bosses are asking you to go and promote the show every other second that you're not shooting the show, and I didn't get a day off for 3 years. Not one. I couldn't call in sick. There was only one of me. If a grip or electric or camera guy got sick, they were like, okay, we'll get somebody to come in and do what you do for the day. But there's only one of us, right? So you can't really call in sick, and I couldn't call in sick, and I had to be there every single day. And I had NBC and Warner Brothers having me go fly, sometimes internationally, and go shake hands and kiss. I mean, I felt like I was like running for office half the time, and I was selling the show to everyone that I could, and putting on the smiling face even when I was absolutely dead, and feeling like a lot of the times that wasn't even appreciated. Like all of those things, it all just comes like bubbling back up, and you're at the end of it, and the only thing I can liken it to is like someone who ran a marathon. And when you see people run like Ironmen or marathons and they get to the end, by the way, they might have been like 200th, but they made it, and they collapse and they just start weeping. And that's what it was. And it was every possible emotion all coming back at the same time, and saying goodbye to these people, like this is the end, and this cast and this crew that were your family, and I saw every damn day, every day, all day, and try to be the best lead that I could and fight for them with every chance that I could, because I think that's what your job is as the lead of a show. It's not to say, hey, look at me, I'm the lead. It's to be a servant leader and be like, okay, let's go make sure everybody is taken care of. Let's make sure that they are loved and they are appreciated, you know? Yeah, so Yvonne and I at the end, we were just talking about all of that and crying and loving and yeah, it was very cathartic, very deep. Thank you for the question, Sam.
Hi, I just...
Last question, don't screw this up now. No pressure, no pressure!
Two quick things. First, I just wanted to say me and my friend think you're absolutely fabulous.
Oh, thank you.
Do you think you could pull a quick pose so I could take a photo?
Well, okay.
Scold her!
Oh, actually, hold on. I'm gonna give you a quick pose. Hold on one second. Wait a minute. Got it? No, I didn't get it. Too bad. She asked for the pose. She lined up for it. Guys, I think that is the end of the Zachary Levi panel. Thank you all so very much for being here. I love you guys. God bless you guys. I hope that I get to see you more, either in Toronto at other conventions. I hope that whatever I might do in my future, you'll be along with me. I fight for you, and I hope you will fight with me. God bless you all. I'll see you later, all right?